Hey guys, Mitchell Kramer here, and thank you for tuning in to the first episode of CowboyCast. You know, a lot of you guys know me, and some of you guys don't, so I thought I'd start out by talking about a little bit about myself. And I've been in mounted shooting for over 10 years now, and this podcast isn't just about mounted shooting, but it's about all equine sports, Western sports in particular. But we'll talk about mounted shooting for sure. That's what I would say specialize in as a sport, and it's what I do for fun, and I love to share a lot of information with you. And we'll talk a little bit more about that today. I've been announcing for about the same amount of time. I've announced a lot of mounted shooting events, a lot of barrel races for sure. Pretty much every week I'm at a barrel race somewhere. And I've also done a lot of shows. I've announced the Palomino World Show. I've done some shows for the Draft Horse and Mule Show. I'll do a lot of events for Illinois, Missouri, and around the Midwest. And I really love announcing there on the side. I have a good time at those events, especially when there's a crowd, and it's something that I enjoy to do on the side. While I was announcing, I had a handful of people, especially the past 2 years, ask about if I would be interested in doing a podcast, and at the time I said no, because there's nothing to talk about. Well, there really is. There's just so much to talk about. A lot of these guys, from what I've heard, have tried podcasts, but just so hard to get the content to give back to the listeners, the people listening or watching these. And really, this information here and mounted shooting and barrel racing, event management, there's so much out there to talk about, especially right now. The past 3 years have been hell, and people have been locked at home. People had to change their lives, and it's a really cool way to take in some new information on what we like to do and love on the weekends, and that's for some of us during the week. So I love announcing, and announcing is really what gave me some of the ideas for CowboyCast, and I had a handful of people, I'd say, come up to me and ask about doing one of these. So we thought we'd try it out, and the first post I made about it when I announced this CowboyCast show was it was tremendous. The first day, that post reached 6,000 people and got that many reactions, and we were really surprised. So we're gonna going all the way, and so I also do some lessons. I give some clinics, and I've got a clinic coming up on the 26th of February here in 2022. That's in Festus, Missouri. And some information on that is on CowboyCast.com under the shop tab. I'm also the vice president of Missouri Big Irons, which is a subsidiary club off of CMSA, the Cowboy Mounted Shooting Association. And there's also USMS, which is United States Mounted Shooting. Their website, I believe it is still USMS2020.com. They are another national organization. So there's CMSA, the Cowboy Mounted Shooting Association. There's USMS, United States Mounted Shooting. And if you guys know me, I'm not, I'm not putting all my cards in one place here. I'm for mounted shooting. I'm not for one organization or the other. I'm not for one format or the other. I think there's a lot of really cool things out there and available, and I'm glad and I'm happy that we have the ability to choose between which organization we want to compete in. It's a fun event. It's a recreational event. There's a handful of people that do this full time. I'm pretty sure I know all of them, and they know me. And a lot of those people who have their livelihoods invested fully into competing in mounted shooting are the same way. Some are not all of them. But a lot of people, they just want to go shoot. They don't care what organization it is, but they just want to go shoot. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about today. That can go on for hours, and it has before online. But I'm for either organization. USMS, CMSA. If one started up tomorrow, I'd cheer them on as well. So I also have Showcase Elite Equine. If you guys have bought my book before, A Guide to Mounted Shooting, that's the website you went to, showcaseeliteequine.com, and it's also available through cowboycast.com. And that is my business. That's where we sell the books through. We're going to sell some more products through. That's where we sell the clinic through, and some audit tickets through for the clinics. And lastly, I've got CowboyCast, and like I said, some people asked me if I would do a podcast and try it out, and I put the first post out about it, and there was a lot of attention drawn to it. And really, why this is so important is I can only put so much into writing and on social media, and we all can only put so much into writing and social media. But I think a lot of stuff is so much easier just to discuss and to talk about. We're going to be interviewing some producers, some trainers, some clinicians, some competitors, everyone involved in these equine sports. We're going to have on here. So there's a lot of, advantages to doing this podcast or CowboyCast I got to share with you all. And there's just so much info out there about these sports, about putting on these events, about arena management, about event management, about managing your mind to be able to compete in these sports. There's so much information out there, and I just can't wait to get to it all. And last but not least, like I said, my full-time job is in financial services. That's one of my biggest passions out there, and I really enjoy that. So you know enough about me. The first thing we're going to talk about, guys, is what guns you need to get into mounted shooting. Like I said, this podcast isn't just about mounted shooting, so if you're not interested in it for some reason, I've never met anyone who didn't at least have a couple questions on mounted shooting. But if you're not interested in it, we are doing some more stuff within the world of Western sports. But first, we're going to talk about what guns you need for mounted shooting. We got a cool interview coming up, and then we'll follow it out by talking about the losers in Western sports. So let's get to it. Let's talk about what guns you need in mounted shooting. All right, so what guns you need in mounted shooting. And there's a lot of controversial going on over this. There's so many guns you can use. This is coming from me of what guns I strongly recommend. None of these gun manufacturers sponsor me. I am just telling you what the best gun is to get, or the best two sets is to get if you can get them in these, by inflation times. This is what I strongly recommend. So if you're getting into mounted shooting, you want to know what guns to get. There's two sets of guns that I would use in mounted shooting. First set, and the most common set, is a set of Ruger New Vaquero Montados in 45 long Colt. And yes, 45 long Colt is the only caliber we use in the sport of mounted shooting. Now, why do I recommend Ruger Montados? Vaquero means cowboy, Montado means mounted. These guns are theoretically made for mounted shooting, and I like to call them the Glock or AK-47 of mounted shooting because they're so versatile, they're so easy to use, they're so simple, clean, stainless steel, mind you. And these things, I've had the same set, same two guns, fired them thousands of times, same two guns since I started mounted shooting. Ruger New Vaquero Montados. Now, mine are not Montados, but when I started, I had nobody telling me of exactly what guns to get. When I started mounted shooting, I found a Western Shooting Horse magazine. It was in a Schnucks, which is a grocery outlet in St. Louis, where I grew up. And we bought that magazine. I think we bought two of those magazines. And it sat on the shelf for probably 2 or 3 years, untouched. And I was bored one day and I opened it up and, I read about the Cowboy Mounted Shooting Association. And I looked up online to find a shoot. And there was a shoot in Hawk Point. And that's where I went. And that's where I started learning more about the sport. And we can talk more about that later. But there was a page in there with a list of different guns. And all I did was I picked the prettiest gun that I found in this Western Shooting Horse magazine. And it was a silver stainless steel Ruger New Vaquero Montado. Actually, it was just a Ruger New Vaquero at the time. I didn't see a Montado in there, but it was just a Ruger 45 long Colt Vaquero. And so mine has a little bit longer of a barrel, and I had to have the hammers adjusted, and some other stuff adjusted to make it be like a Montado. But what you guys want to get is a Ruger New Vaquero Montado and a 45 long Colt. Two of them. You need a set. We use 2 pistols in mounted shooting. The second set of guns I'd recommend is, once again, these guys don't sponsor me. This is what I recommend. If you can find them, a set of Colt Single Action Armory 45 long Colts. They're high dollar, very hard to find. all these guns are hard to find right now, especially Ruger New Vaquero Montados. And what we get asked is, all right, well, how much you're talking? You just said high dollar. So a pair of Montados used to cost, when I started, it would cost $1,200, which already seems like a lot to some of you. $1,200 for the two of them. You get two guns for $1,200, just over $600 a piece. Now, thanks to the times that we're in 2022, if you can find a used set of guns, no joke, 3 or 4 days ago, this past weekend, I had someone message me saying they had a set of Montados for sale, and they were going to price them at $2,500. Now, keep in mind, I bought mine, or you could buy a set of Montados 10 years ago for $1,200. Brand new. Now, we got a set of used pistols going up for sale for $2,500, and she asked if I knew anybody who wanted to buy these, and I said, yes, I'm sure I do, but I was saddling my horse at the time, and I said, after I'm done riding, I'll see if I can find you a buyer. While I was saddling, all right, now she messaged me while I was saddling. While I was still saddling, I think I, had time to throw the saddle on and finish, putting the girth on my horse. These things sold $2,500. So you're looking at right now between $2,200 and $2,500 for two Montados. Trust me, guys, if you're looking to get into this sport, and I know some of you, I've never had anyone try it out and just not like it. Like, usually if someone gets out of mounted shooting, there's a reason. I rarely have someone saying, I did not have fun, I did not enjoy this. Nope, not for me. Anybody with a little bit of confidence and some discipline can do this sport, especially with how our levels are set up in CMSA. But you just, guys, you want a set of Ruger Montados is what you're going to want. If you can find a set of Colts, more power to you. I haven't really found a set. I can find one here, one there, but to find both of them at once, it's pretty difficult to do. So if you can't find one of these guns, or maybe you already bought another brand or another type of gun and it still works for mounted shooting, that's great. Anything to get you into the sport and to get you started and to get you running. I have a guy who asked me if I knew of a set for sale, and I didn't at the time, and so I think he bought a pair of Taylors, and no offense to them, they're great people, they have some great guns, but I recommend Ruger Montados because that's what most people use. Everyone has parts, a lot of people know how they work, they're consistent, and I have some people say, well, my friend, she's got 8 pair in her trailer, and she loves them, or he loves them. Well, that's great. But why does he need 8 pair? I've had one pair of Montados. I don't want to jinx myself. I'll knock on wood. But I've had one pair of Vaqueros, and for 10 years, they've done great. I've only had one problem with them, and that was my fault. So, I strongly recommend Montados. Now, let's say you're looking to get into the shotgun class. And for those who don't know the shotgun class, we use one pistol and one shotgun. We shoot 5 with a pistol, usually round to barrel. We'll change guns, pull out the shotgun, we'll drop our reins, and shoot 2 clusters of balloons with a shotgun. This has changed over the past couple of years. And what I had in the past, and I still have it, it's a Stoeger side-by-side 410 coach gun. This thing weighs a ton compared to the new shotgun I'm about to talk about. Maybe about 5 years ago, these things started getting real popular and pretty easy to use, pretty easy to work, and really light. The shotgun you want to get for mounted shooting is by far a Yildiz 410 side-by-side with a single trigger. These things weigh like just over 2 pounds, if I recall correctly. You can get them at Academy Sports, and I'm not going to recommend that you personally do any gunsmith work to them. But if you take it to a gunsmith, they can cut the barrel down to the appropriate length that's listed in the CMSA and USMS rule books. Your gunsmith can do that for you. They can get the cylinders reamed out for you so the shells can expand in there. And they can even put that bead back on if you really want it. Their bead's not even on my barrel of my shotgun. But that is a Yildiz 410 side-by-side single-trigger shotgun. And guys, those are only like $400. So that's going to be one of the cheapest guns you'll ever buy, if not the cheapest gun you're going to buy for mounted shooting for sure. And like I said, Academy Sports is your dealer on that, and they're a national chain. Now let's look at the rifle class. And if you're just getting into mounted shooting, you're not going to want to go straight into the shotgun or rifle class, especially the rifle class, just because of how difficult it is. Not that you can't do it, but I would feel more confident in you if you spent at least a year in the main match shooting 2 pistols and then worked your way up to the shotgun and rifle class. The shotgun class is a good intro into long guns because you only have to shoot 2 clusters versus 5 balloons down the rundown of a pattern. So when you're looking to get a rifle in the rifle class, you already have your 1 pistol, or your 2 pistols really, but you only use 1 in the rifle. And so looking to get a rifle, I recommend the Taylors & Company Running Comanchero lever action rifle. Now once again, they don't sponsor me. That's just the most consistent gun that I've seen. And if you've watched or been in a rifle class, 75% of the time, whoever rifle works usually wins. Whoever can work that rifle the best, or whoever's rifle doesn't jam wins. These rifles are fidgety, and not all of them are made to cycle or blanks, and they have to have a lot of work done to them a lot of times. But the Running Comanchero is ready to go off the shelf. I used to shoot one all the time when I shot rifle class. It's got the leather-wrapped handle, leather-wrapped buttstock, and those things are just ready to go. And they take our 5-in-1 rifle blanks. Lonesome Pine Shooting Supply, they do sponsor me. When you guys are looking for ammo, if he's got some in stock, he sells the 5-in-1 rifle blanks. And that's what we use in the rifle. Now, the shotgun that I just talked about, our shotguns use the 45 Long Colt pistol blanks that we use. The 410 is the same size as a 45 Long Colt. And you can shoot a 12-gauge shotgun if you get adapters for it. But I'd recommend the 410. But on the rifle, yeah, they sell the Running Comanchero in 45 Long Colt and 4440, if I recall correctly. And from what I was told from Taylor's, the 4440 is most common to be used in mounted shooting because of the chamber is suited better for the expanding of our shells when they are shot in our gun, and they tend to eject a little easier, and it helps just with cycling. But people use both 45 Long Colt and 4440. And I have people that use Marlins though, and there's people that have all sorts of guns, Henrys. There's all sorts of guns that work and all sorts of guns that are consistent. If you find them one that works, that's great. I'm just recommending the Taylors & Company Running Comanchero and 4440 for a lever gun. Now there's also the revolving rifle, which Taylor's does sell. Yeah, I think that rifle's about $800. I don't recall the price of the lever rifle. A couple of years ago I would have said between $1,200 and $1,500. It's probably more than that now. But there's a revolving rifle class, and there's also a pump action rifle that can be used in the lever class. And pump action rifle, I have one. They're not very common. Very hard to find, and very hard to find one that can be used with our blanks for sure. Mine, I always blame myself, and it's been having a lot of issues. But it's a 45 Long Colt AWA pump action rifle. AWA is American Western Arms. When I looked into it, they closed down years ago. You can't get parts for them. If I need a part, it has to be custom made. But I liked it. I actually love this gun because you don't have to let go of the gun at all when you're cocking the gun. Lever gun, you're halfway letting go of your gun while you're cocking it for all 5 shots. And on this pump gun, I could hold down that trigger and just slide back that slide on the pump and just hammer away at all 5 shots. I loved it. But it was so fidgety. And it could have just been my gun, and I've seen a lot of them work before. I have friends that have them, but these guns can take not a lot of vibration and movement. Mine in particular, it sometimes eject 2 shells at once. Sometimes it wouldn't go off. Sometimes it eject a live round. But when it worked, it was awesome, and I love it. I still have it. I don't think I'd ever sell it, unless it was some outrageous amount. But I haven't really done the rifle class too much. I don't really enjoy it as much, mainly because I don't want to do the main match, the shotgun class, and the rifle class. I think it's a lot on me, a lot on my horse. The last time I did that, we were in Tunica, Mississippi. I entered both the shotgun class and the rifle class. Shotgun was first. I ran out there to shoot stage 1 shotgun. While I was out there, some parts fell off on my scabbard. I was first or second to go in the rifle, which was coming up in a few riders. and I was strapping pieces and parts together to try to get my scabbard together to get my rifle into it, and it was just a mess. Plus, you're running back and forth, and if you're only using 1 or 2 horses, it's a lot of stress on your horse to be running that much. So I only shoot one long gun class when I'm going to a shoot most of the time, unless they have a bunch of horses or a bunch of time in between. So that's what kind of guns you need in mounted shooting. If you have any questions on that, feel free to leave a comment, shoot us a message, and we'll try to get back to you. But pistol class, our main match, really what it's called, guys, Ruger, New Vaquero, Montados. You want to get 2 of them from 45 long Colts. If you can't get those, or if you already got something else, I just don't want you to develop any bad habits, but go ahead and shoot with those. And then when you find some down the road, and most of you might say, well, I don't plan on, doing this every weekend. I think these will get me by. Trust me, I've seen this year after year. A new shooter comes in and they say that exact thing, and 6 months later, they're like, I need a set of Rugers or a set of Colts. And most of the time, it's a set of Rugers. And we'll see what we can do to help them out. And, I'll have people who come up to me with problems, and they'll have a set of Taylors or they'll have a set of Cimarron pistols. And, and I'm not just picking on these 2 brands. These are just very common brands. But they'll come up to me and say, hey, I'm having the problem with my gun. Can you help me? And, I can, and a lot of other shooters can strip a Ruger down to all of its parts in no problem, put it back together. These Taylor guns and Cimarron guns and some of these other brands that a lot of shooters aren't as familiar with, they're not going to have parts for them. We're not going to be able to know as much about them to help you fix them if you get a jam or something. So you're getting in the main match, you're getting the mounted shooting, try to find 2 Ruger New Vaquero Montados. If not, you can't find Colts either. I've seen a lot of Taylors available, the running irons. Gunbroker.com and a gun dealer should be able to locate a set of those for you for sure. Shotgun class, side-by-side, Yildiz 410, and rifle class, Taylors & Company, running Comanchero, and 4440. Now, while we're on the subject of guns, I have a lot of people, and we'll break off here for a minute and talk about some horse training tips, and a lot of this stuff is in my book, but I have a lot of people that come up and say they're training their horse with a cap gun or a 22 blanks or half loads, and half loads aren't as bad, but I'm not a fan of using the cap guns and 22 blanks, and I've done it before. Maybe for some horses it works. The 22 blanks, if you have a 22 revolver, you can go to Lowe's and get Ramset shells, which are used for concrete nail driving. And those are 22 blanks, and they come in different powers. But, I've got a 22 Magnum in my pocket right now. And that thing, if I shoot this 22, compared to my 45 long Colt, the sound on a 22 is so high-pitched, it doesn't sound like the same sound at all. It'll make your ears ring worse than a 45. If you shoot a 45 long Colt, especially the blank, if you shoot these things, on those blanks there's no kick or anything, but if you shoot a 45 long Colt blank, no one's ears ringing out there. A lot of people wear earplugs while they're running. I don't. It's a lot quieter. I've never been in the stands, I don't think, and had someone shooting in the arena and make my ears ring. But I can take this 22 Magnum or 22 long Colt, even when I load that in there, and shoot that off my back porch. And the pitch is so incredibly high that it sounds totally different than a 45 long Colt would sound. 45 long Colt's so much deeper. It might louder, the sound might reach farther, but the 45 long Colt is a totally different sound than a 22 blank. And, if you're just trying to desensitize the horse, I understand you're shooting above your head with a 22 blank and desensitize it. Maybe do it a couple times, but I would not consistently shoot a 22 blank or even a cap gun off these things because they sound totally different to the horse. Totally different. So when you're doing this, I talk about a lot, and this is one of the first things I say at my clinics, is that you should not be able to go to one clinic and be shooting off your horse after that one clinic, and then next weekend you enter a shoot, and then all of a sudden you're shooting, unless you have a very broke horse or he's already in the sport. 30 days is not long enough, in my opinion, to get these horses ready for mounted shooting. There's so much going on. There's running and turning. You have to be running and turning like a barrel horse. You have to be as versatile as a reiner. You have, I was just saying 80 patterns, but now we also have USMS and these other organizations. Now there's over like 160 patterns if I'm rounding up. There's balloons popping. There's noises going off. The horse has to get used to the gunfire, and sometimes, the other 50% of the time, it's the horse has to get used to that balloon being there and disappearing, or the noise of the balloon popping even, plus the gun. So there's so much going on. We have these people that try to get their horse into it, and 30 to 60 days, they're like, yeah, this is great. They might have rushed into it a little bit, and then day 61 they're shooting and they go to a couple of shoots, but then day 180 comes around and their horse will be gun shy, and they're wondering why this horse is gun shy now and why they have to start the process completely over. And unfortunately, they do the same process because now they've already been shooting off this horse, so when they get back to shooting off it again, and so they're going even faster this time around instead of taking their time. You have to take your time with these horses. Now, I think there is such thing as taking too much time. I've seen some people take 2 to 3 years to get a horse gun broke, and that shouldn't be. If it takes that long, and if you're riding it consistently that much and shooting off of it that much, it shouldn't take that long. That horse probably just doesn't want to get into it. Not all these horses are going to make shooting horses, but a lot of them will. Well, taking your time and you trusting the horse trusting you, and building that relationship up as you are learning the sport with the horse, and that worked best for me. My first horse never made it in a mounted shooting. His name was Cisco, older black horse, and he never made it. But I didn't know what I was doing, and if anyone really tell me how to train these things, and some horses, just plain out not make it. You could do everything right by the book, but some of these horses just don't like it. They've got their mindset to something else, and they're not for the sport. Let's go ahead and go to our interview.
All right, I'm here at the 2022 Illinois Horse Fair in Springfield, Illinois, and I'm here with Paula Briney, the president of, what is the president of?
Horsemen's Council of Illinois.
Horsemen's Council of Illinois, the president here at the 2022 Illinois Horse Fair in Springfield. Now, Paula, how long has this horse fair been an event here in Springfield?
This is our 32nd year, would be actually 34. We've only canceled twice in the 34 years of its inception.
Wow. Now, how much has it grown? Like, are you seeing numbers grown? Is it kind of fluctuating? How are we talking?
Well, we missed last year due to the pandemic. We were the last horse fair to happen 2 years ago, right as the pandemic hit, and we had a very, very good turnout that year. So this is the first time back after 2 years, and we're really, really thrilled with all the numbers we have, and excited to do this again.
Right. Now, there's just a ton of people here from the equine industry and from the town and the public, the general public here. We have a lot of vendors here this weekend. Roughly, do you know how many vendors we have in the expo hall?
About 35 to 40 vendors in there. Mm-hmm.
I know it's really packed. There's trailer dealers, you got tack dealers in there, knives, gutters, anything you could need over there.
Yes.
There's a lot of people in there. Do you know roughly how many people attend this event on a year basis?
In previous years, we've had around 10,000 people between the night performances and the day. So we're here for 3 days. And between the 3 days and the 2 night performances, we run around 10,000 people through here.
Wow. All right. So you have rodeos here. Is it Friday night and Saturday night?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people that attend those as well. Last night it was packed, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was basically a sold-out crowd. We sold 2,000 tickets, and the Coliseum holds 22 people.
22,000 people? 2,200. 22,000 is still impressive,
yes,
but
that's
if you've ever been here at the Illinois Coliseum, that is one heck of a facility, and there's a lot of stands, a lot of bleachers, and that crowd was packed in there all night from probably an hour before it started. We had the pre-show, the drill team in there.
And the trick riders and all the carriages and all that was going on.
Right. And I know the hitch teams really like it here as well. This facility is set up great for them. I know they were showing those guys off too with the drill teams and trick riding. What kind of events do we have here at the horse fair this weekend?
We have a breed and sport demo, so showing various people the different breeds and disciplines that the equine athletes can do. We have the drill teams going on. Jane Melby's here doing a clinic on barrels. Scott Stokes is doing natural horsemanship. We have Robin Krutke doing jumping. We have, the essential oils, people doing veterinary work and things like that.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of events here, both English and Western.
Yes. And ranch and rodeo, all the pieces to it. Yes.
Right, and then now we're also doing mounted shooting here, and I'm going to bring in Chris Shear here in just a little bit. So we're doing mounted shooting. I know we have, like 250 riders, I'd say, or 250 people watching the 20-plus riders we had over there at the different stages. So we got shooting here. We have rodeo at night to see the rough stock, the team ropers, the barrel racers, the drill teams, the trick riders. Anything from any equine discipline is basically here this weekend.
Yes, for the professionals, the amateurs, and the new, hopefully, horse owners.
Right. And this is not only for the state of Illinois. I mean, we have people here from Missouri, Iowa. I think shooters from Ohio. There's people from all over the equine industry that come here every year to participate and to support you guys, right?
Yep, to participate in our horse fair. And we work really hard not to be on other horse fairs so that we get the various vendors and people coming throughout this country.
All right. So lastly, as the president of the Horsemen's Council of Illinois, what would you say the main goal is, or main thing that council does on a yearly basis? What's your guys' mission?
Our mission is to educate and promote the equine lifestyle that we all enjoy. We work with the lobbyists on the state and local levels and the municipalities to maintain our farms and our lifestyles, trails, mounted shooting, whatever we want to do, showing horses. So the last thing on our docket for this year and next year is to get the Working Animal Protection Act passed so that we don't lose all this. I mean, and that includes dogs, working dogs, and all that other stuff, because that industry, the animal rights industry, is working to eliminate all this stuff. And so we are working very diligently with our legislatures to make sure we can get this bill passed.
That's amazing. I mean, we're walking through the barn aisle right now, and you can just see the care that these people are putting in these horses. I mean, they're not just the decorations. I mean, the food, the care that they put into the horses themselves. These guys get up at 4 a.m. every day to brush these horses off, to clean them up, to take care of them, to feed them well, and to make sure they're in great shape. So thank you, Paula Burnley, for spending some time with me today, and I'll go to Chris Shear next. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Nope. Come out to Horse Fair. Will be happening next year in 2023, first full weekend of March.
Sounds good. We'll be here in Springfield, Illinois. We'll see you there.
Thank you.
All right, so we're back here at the 2022 Illinois Horse Fair. Now, I just spoke with Paula Brenley, one of the presidents of the Illinois Horse Council, right? Now I'm here with Chris Shear, the president of the Illinois Equine Foundation. And Chris, you're one of our mounted shooters. You're a men's level 2, correct? And this is the first year that we got mounted shooting here at the 2022 Illinois Horse Fair. How would you say it went this year?
I'd say it went pretty good. All the participants are pretty happy, and we got a good showing at our stages. And I think we had about 250 people watching our stage 2 Saturday night.
The stands are definitely packed for when we were shooting in there, and I think they wanted to squeeze some more on the other side. Yesterday, Saturday, was definitely a full house in that covered arena. Now, how long have you been in the sport, and how did you find out about the sport of mounted shooting?
I've been in the sport for about 2.5 years. I actually found out about the sport initially at one of the Illinois Horse Fairs. Somebody did a demo at this actual fair probably about 4 years ago or so. And that kind of got the spark lit, and then got into some clinics, and that's all it took.
We're always very interested to see of how people got into the sport. I know I found out about it at a magazine sitting at a Schnucks grocery outlet one time, and the sport is just so new. It's only 20-something years old, and it started in the late 1990s, so we're always looking to see how we can get more people into this sport. So how have you been shooting this weekend? How's the shoot been going for you personally?
So far, so good. I'm still shooting clean. I think I'm in the top maybe 5, so I'll keep my fingers crossed. One more stage to go.
You had, I think, 2 fast times this weekend so far.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so far so good.
Now, like I said, you're the president of the Illinois Equine Foundation. What is the Illinois Equine Foundation? What can you tell us about that?
The Illinois Equine Foundation helps support some scholarship opportunities for veterinary students. We have a disaster relief fund, and we also do trails advocacy.
Okay. So, what else would you like to say about the fair here? How long have you been involved with the Illinois Equine Foundation? And then what is your favorite part about the 2022 Illinois Horse Fair?
I've been on the Illinois Equine Foundation board for a few years, and I was asked to be the president last year. So I'm a little bit new to the presidency for it. I've been coming up to the horse fair for years, probably 10, 15 years. Right. And obviously this weekend, my favorite part's got to be our mounted shooting.
Yeah. I know the spectators like it, and for this being the first year mounted shooting is here, it looks like we've had a full crowd, and everyone's asking for more, and they wish we had more here, and we'll get more shooters here next year for sure. at the 2023 Illinois Horse Fair. It'll be the same weekend they tell me, the first weekend in March usually it is?
First weekend in March.
Okay, cool. So we'll be here for that. Thank you, Chris, for joining us here. We'll get back to CowboyCast. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys, enough's enough. Let's talk about the losers. And I know some of you are like, what the heck is that supposed to mean? Well, let's talk about the winners and the losers. First off, if you have something to write down, if you're sitting down at home or something, I'll let you write my quote down. But this is my quote that I love to use, and it especially applies to mine shooting, but it can be applied to barrel racing and other Western sports as well. Here's the deal. Here's a quote. People confuse being competitive with winning every time. In mounted shooting, this happens way too often. People confuse being competitive with winning every time. I'll give you an example. This subject comes up at least once a quarter on social media when we're talking about move backs. And why people move back on levels in mounted shooting. And for those of you who don't know, there are 6 levels of mounted shooting. You start as a 1 and work your way up through a 6, and you work your way up through a 6 by getting so many wins and moving up to the next level. But there is a way you can move back. And, it is just a fact that some people abuse the rule, but the rule is there, and it's not against the rules. People confuse being competitive with winning every time. Now, what's that mean? So let's see all these people, and let's say they're a level 3 and they move up to a level 4, which, for one thing, it's the hardest jump in mounted shooting. It's going from being a limited into the open division. But then they get to a 4 and they're like, at the first or second shoot, I can't compete with these 4s. I can't compete with these 4s. I'm not winning. I didn't win this round. Well, I better start looking for a way to move back. I didn't know 4 was going to be like this. But the mentality shouldn't be like that. It's your first show out of the gate. You're competitive and you are beating the 3s like no other. You're probably beating the 2s, beating the 1s like no other. But that means if, it's your first couple shows out of the gate and you're not winning as a 4, then you need to work to get better. You need to improve. What can you improve on? What lessons can you take? What lessons can you learn? What clinics can you go to? What research or education can I get to get better at mounted shooting? Instead of saying, well, I'm not competitive. Yeah, you're competitive. You're just not winning every time. Now, some people will say that, well, I went to 10 to 15 shows and I didn't win once, and I've been wanting to move back all year, and I know I belong as a 3. I never wanted to move out of the 3s, but some guy screwed me, and I swear he purposely missed a balloon, and so that means that, I should be a 3. That's my level. That's where I need to be. And some people might feel better that way. Some people might feel so incredibly sheltered that they just want to stay in this little spot and they want to win every time. They get that buckle every time. They want to get that picture in the magazine or on the wall or on Facebook every time. And it just becomes about the buckle, the check, instead of the true competitive compassion in the sport. Now, don't get me wrong. There is a reason we have the rule. Let me tell you, before I go any further, let me tell you my reasoning why I think we should have the ability to move back a level. Now, keep in mind, not all organizations have levels. Obviously, I'm talking about CMSA right now with their level classification system. USMS has the D format most of the time. But in CMSA, we have these levels. So, when we're talking about these levels, I understand that there's some circumstances where people should have the ability to move back. I'm a level 6. That's as high as you can go in men's level 6. I don't care if I break my back. I don't want to move back in the sport. Now, I'm not on wood right now, but I worked so incredibly hard to become a level 6. There is no way that I would give that up for anything. to move back. I would not want to move back for anything. You know, I haven't won my class at a major event in some time now, and I'll admit that. You know, I never claimed to be the best. I say at all my clinics, and I'll say that on here. And but I know there's places I can improve. You know, I take lessons. You know, I give lessons in mounted shooting and stuff, but I take lessons on riding, and I try to learn more. I've asked different clinicians, you know, about how I can improve my horses. You know, some of my horses have some issues I'm trying to solve right now, and you know, I'm not afraid to ask other people for help on that stuff. But that's the thing is, I'm looking to improve. I'm already at a 6. I'm still looking to improve, and I don't think I'll ever look to stop improving. I never move back. But some people, I can see why you'd want to move back. Some people, you know, people use age as a thing. Now, as you can probably tell if you know me, or maybe you can tell by my voice, I don't know. I'm a younger person, and I will tell you right off the bat, the biggest thing that irritates me is getting judged by age. You know, I can't stand it. Whether it's people thinking that younger people are more inexperienced or less knowledgeable versus, you know, older people, people get the impression, or they get the impression themselves, that they can't compete with these younger people. And I hear that all the time. I hear that every year, every month even, is that I can't compete with them young guys. You know, look at him. This guy's in high school, and he's beating all of us. It's because of how young he is. Well, there's some older shooters that are out there too, being just as competitive. You know, why do you think that younger shooter is so good? Now, there's some younger shooters out there. I'm not going to name names or anything, but I've told this to people before. There's some younger shooters out there that aren't in that same class. You know, why is younger shooter A a men's level 6 and younger shooter B the same age, a men's level 2, and they've both, you know, men's level 2 started 5 years ago and men's level 6 started 8 years ago, and why aren't they in the same class? Why aren't they as competitive with each other? Well, that one kid who was in high school, young person A, probably practiced and worked his ass off to be that level, to get up there, to move forward, to educate himself more about the sport. You know, age doesn't really have anything to do with it. We watched, you know, Jim Rogers, for those of you who don't know, started the sport of mounted shooting. He was CMSA number 1 as his CMSA number. And we watched him compete until he physically told us, I remember talking about his shoulder was bothering him and stuff. He could barely hold the gun up. But he stayed in that level 6 class. He was a senior men's level 6. He stayed in that class, competed all the way to the end. And he did a great job of doing it. He was just as competitive with any of those 6s. And it was amazing. And that's what this sport's about, moving forward and getting better to progress to these levels. But if you run into some maybe health issues, maybe, you know, you break your leg or your back, you can't compete theoretically with the level 4 class, so you want to move back to a 3. And, you know, in my opinion, once you get to level 4, you shouldn't be able to move back from the open to the limited. But let's use a 3 as an example. Let's say you were a 3 and you move back to level 2 because you had an injury, and you know you want to keep going and keep competing, but you just don't want to lose all that money that you're putting in entry fees and stuff through one level while you're healing over, you know, 6 months to a year. In my opinion, I wouldn't, but I can understand. You know, it seems childish, but I think you should need a doctor's note to move back. You know, that's how far I'd like to see it. You know, this, you know, can't win, you know, 10 events, which is a lot of events to go to, and not win. At least first, second, or third. But if you go to 10 events and you don't win your class, and it's a full class, and you don't win, and you feel the need to move back, I see more people plan on moving back before they realize or think that they need to move back. Some people are like, well, you know, I'm a 4, competed as a 4 all year, and I'm going to take a load off. I'm gonna go back to a 3. Well, where's the fun, competitive edge in that? This is a competitive shooting sport, people. That ain't no cowboy, if you want to use that saying. Now, your people will be irritated about this, but I understand if you have an injury or, you physically feel like you cannot do this and you're getting so frustrated. You're not enjoying it anymore. I want you to enjoy it, but don't take the fun and enjoyment from other people because you want to win every time. Don't confuse being competitive with winning every time. I get a lot of questions on, well, how do you think it should work? I said earlier that I don't think there is one format. I think we should have multiple formats, and I'm glad that we have multiple organizations that we're allowed to go to and compete in and try out. And, when another organization could start up tomorrow, and I'd support them just as much as I support any other organization. My big thing, as far as these levels go, is that I don't think there should be a gender split. Absolutely not. I think that's, everyone says that this is a conservative Christian sport. However, we can't split up and, segregate more than we already are. We have a senior class, regular class, a women's class, a men's class. The men and women have proven that they can win 50-50. I mean, there's been women that have won majors before. There have been men that have won majors before. I can understand a senior class over a gender split class. Think about this for a second. I've said this for years, since I started shooting. We have 24 classes in a sport of mounted shooting. Classes meaning levels, 24 levels. We have men's 1 through 6, ladies 1 through 6, senior ladies 1 through 6, senior men's 1 through 6. 6 times 4, 24. If we got rid of the gender split, we would take that 24 levels down to 12. You would double your competition, having more people in your classes. You would double your payouts, having more people in your classes. You would cut the cost. Rather, you would cut the need for as much added money to make a difference at your local club shoots if we got rid of the dang gender split. There's no reason for it. People are so stuck on what they, grew up in or what they started in. And, people are naturally resistant to change. And people are scared of change. There's a fear element in there. And even if they think in the back of their head, in the back of their skull, they think that it might work, they may not admit that because they don't want to change what's already there. They think what we have now is great and we don't want to change it. It's working. Why do we want to change it? Is it working though? I don't think it is. I think it's working, but I think we could improve it tremendously. If you take people who have been involved in Western sports for all their lives and people outside of mounted shooting and you invite them in, I've seen this a lot recently. People are questioning our formats and why we do what we do, why the gender split, they don't get it. I tell them, I don't get it either. I don't get why we're stuck on these gender splits. But like I said, not all organizations do this. There are options out there where there's not gender splits. But on gender splits, we're past that, guys. The women are just as competitive as the men. Grow a set, grow a pair, whatever you want to call it. Let's get rid of the gender split. That's my opinion. You can talk about that in the comments, whatever you want to do. But I felt that way for a long time, and it helped the smaller events out. Maybe the bigger events, they keep it that way, but I'm pretty sure, I think it was the men's finals. We were at CMSA World in Amarillo, Texas, and I think there was 2 people in that class. Those people drove all the way from middle of the U.S. driving to Amarillo, Texas, and they don't even have people to compete in their class at the World Show. It's time to get rid of the gender split, guys. We're beyond that. Unless you want to introduce a blue-eyed men's under 5'4" 4 class, and then, brown-eyed, blonde-haired, 5'10" class. There's too many classes is what I'm getting at. There's too many. We could do so much by changing one thing, and that is getting rid of the gender split. Double your competition, double your payouts in class, cut down on costs for the clubs, and effort to get sponsorship money into these events. It would be tremendous and amazing for some of these organizations with gender splits. And I believe in that for my barrel racers listening. I believe that for barrel racing too. Why would you gender split? I can understand the senior split sometime and senior payouts, senior side pots, all that. But, I've seen some gender split pole classes and barrels classes and gender split youth, novice, you name it. We're past that, guys. Come on. They're just as competitive. Men and women are just as competitive with each other. Now, if you have way too many entries, which is not the case whatsoever in monitor shooting, if you're at a world show, you have 150 entries in a poles class, and you need to cut it down to fit a time slot. So you run a men's pole class and a ladies' pole class. I don't understand that. Because it's not based off of competitiveness, it's based off of time to run a class. But it's not based on how competitive they are. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for the first episode of CowboyCast. Check us out online, www.cowboycast.com, and that's on the Showcase Elite Equine website as well. And, let me know what you think. We're going to have a lot of these episodes coming up. I'm hoping to do one a week. We'll see how it goes. We're going to get some great people on here. If you're interested in supporting us or advertising with us, send us a message, and I can get back to you on that, or someone here can get back to you on advertising on CowboyCast. And we're going to be doing a lot of interviews coming up, too, as well. So if you have somebody you want to hear from, something you want to say on here, I don't want to be bombarded by emails, but feel free to send us something, and we will see what we can do. See you guys at the next one. Stay competitive. Don't confuse being competitive with winning. We'll see you in our next episode. Thanks for tuning in to CowboyCast.